Let's tell all these folks your name. You want to tell them? All right.
My name's Ricky Skaggs.
Ricky Skaggs. And you're how old?
7 years old.
7 years old. You're originally from up about Louisa, Kentucky, but now living in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, right?
Right.
Ah, you done a fine job. Have a seat over there. We're going to be calling you back in just a little bit. Well, it's time now to call on our special guest, little Ricky again. Ricky, you all drawn back and ready to go? What you going to do for us this time?
Ruby.
Ruby, that's a good one. Thank you so much.
Hi, folks. Glad you could all make it out today. It's a nice chilly day. It's a good day to be inside, out of the weather, and doing something really fun, which I think is going to happen today. We're here at a really historic studio. Bill's going to tell you a lot of the history about it. It started out basically as Superior, then Acorn, and now it's Ricky's Place.
Brent.
Ricky?
Yes. Oh, yes. The little guy you saw.
Yeah.
With a Vacation Bible School haircut.
So we're going to talk about the history of it. We have people on the panel to reminisce and tell you some funny stories and fun stories about the place. This is one of the activities that we're really proud of here at the AES. We try to pick some historic studios and find people involved with them and talk about them and archive it for history. So this is one of our favorite activities and one of the things I'm really proud of that the AES does. AES is a great organization. If you haven't joined it, you should, because we have some really good, worthwhile activities going on. And it's not just something to send your money in and forget it. You actually get something out of it. So if you haven't joined, please join. So I'm going to turn this over to Bil VornDick. Bill knows a lot more about the history of the studio than I do, and Bill will introduce our panelists. So thank you again for coming, and enjoy.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Joseph. To my right is Jimmy Tarbutton, and of course Ricky. And Lee's going to come down and join us here shortly. Yes. We're going to mainly start talking about Superior, because this building originally was Roy Oberson's building, and then the Oaks bought it from him and then built a studio. And it was probably around 70.
Well, I came here in 78 and it was here, so I'm not sure.
72? Okay. And here's just a short list of some of the engineers that have worked here. And then some of the producers. Duane Allen was going to be a part of this, but he's out of town, and he says he's got a bunch of pictures. In doing these legends over the years since the Quonset hut, we've been doing it 20-some years, I guess, by now. The hardest thing is getting pictures of people in the studio, because all of y'all who worked during that generation know that you just didn't take pictures in the studio, so there aren't that many. But we do have some.
Not like we do now.
Well, back then, Jimmy, what was the staff like here at the?
Well, when I came here, there was only one engineer, and that was Fred Cameron.
Okay.
Wow.
Uh,
I love Fred.
And I came here accidentally, actually. I came up to Nashville from Memphis, is where I was from, looking for work. Went all over town, came here. I was told they didn't need any help. So I don't know if any of you remember Chuck Neese, publisher. Chuck Neese was producing a group called the Tennessee Pulley Bone. And I'd worked with them at Audie Ashworth's studio. But Chuck called me from Memphis to come up here and record with him. And we ended up doing it in here. And so Fred Cameron came by a couple of days after we started and said, you know, maybe we could use some help. So it was a pure accident. But I was here for 14 years.
Yeah.
And that was in 78.
You want to talk about some of the gear that was originally here when you were here? And I think Fred probably helped build it, but it was one of the first Westlake rooms.
It was a Westlake. The control room was here. It was they had Westlake monitors.
I still got them.
The control room wasn't really deep enough to support those monitors too much, so we put in some Eastern Acoustic Works near fields to use. But it was not much in equipment. We had an MCI 400 console, which I later had modified to be able to cut the mid-range because it only had a boost on it. And we had an MCI 16 track that was so old that sometimes we have to have one of those heavy tape dispensers to sit it on the deck, because when we press play, sometimes it wouldn't go. But if we dropped that tape dispenser on the deck, it would go ahead and go. We had a couple of DBX 160s, 1176, a couple of old Lang equalizers. I think Fred had bought I think it was ADR stereo EQ. But there really wasn't much until we did the remodel.
For you young guys, the patching back then, remember the curtain on the right-hand side, you pulled the curtain back, and all the mic lines came into an XLR, and then you patched them into the inputs on the, how many did it have, 18? Was it 18?
Gosh, it might have had, yeah, maybe 18 or 24, maybe 24.
Yeah.
It was very limited.
But you would take the mic and then patch them with XLRs into the console. And what Jimmy was just talking about, I was in here one time, I think doing Marty Stewart's record, and Duane Allen came in, and the tape machine did that thing. And I just kind of reached over and I kind of banged it.
Yeah.
And
Fonzie.
to get it going. And Duane goes, "You just hit my machine." I went, "But it's working now."
It was kind of like kicking a TV, I guess.
Yeah, but the Oaks would come in. You know, it didn't make any difference who was recording, dude.
Oh no, Duane stopped by quite a bit, all the time.
Besides the Oaks, who else recorded here?
Conway Twitty came in one night to do some song for a wedding. Somebody he knew or somebody in his family was getting married, and he did a song. And his drummer, after a while, it was getting late too. And after a while, his drummer said, "Are we through?" And
Chop.
Twitty said, "You got someplace to be?" Well, so they got through, and we basically gave Twitty the time as a gift for the wedding. You know, over the years, it was mostly Southern gospel, because that's really what it was built on. And so, I don't know, Ricky, you didn't record here back then, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
We had
Eddie Crook was doing that.
Eddie Crook was one of the main clients.
Yeah.
and even after we moved into there. But there weren't a whole lot of big names, but the Oaks did some recording here, but mostly the Southern Gospel.
For the young guys out there, would you describe a Eddie Crook session to them?
Thank you. Very next.
Well, it varied. Eddie was not one to waste time, to put it mildly, and so he would pretty much get the guys in their seats, and they wouldn't really get a chance to get up until we were done. And we normally did 10 songs, at least. Well, usually it started out, we'd do them in 2 sessions, which was 10 and 2 or 2 and 6. Later on, it got to be where we would get 10 songs in 1 session, or maybe with an hour overtime. But it was all recorded usually at once. There was not a lot of overdubs. So even the vocals, a lot of times, were recorded all at once, standing right over there in that area. We'd have up to a quartet singing, and the rhythm people over, them guys over here, drums in there. We laid a lot of it down live.
Yeah, do 5 before lunch and 5 after lunch, and then have about an hour and a half to maybe fix their vocals and an hour and a half to mix it without any automation.
Well, yeah, if I spent 3 hours mixing a 10-song album, that was pretty extravagant.
Yeah.
Good gracious.
But you know what? We got a lot of pretty good stuff out doing it that way, because we had to commit it as we went, because we did not have Pro Tools. We were limited on tracks, and in some of the bigger productions with strings and brass, we had to make those decisions then to put them on tape.
Yeah.
And some of those records still sound better to me than some of the stuff we do now.
Yeah. Yeah. Options can be a noose.
I have a love-hate relationship with
Yeah.
Pro Tools and digital recording, because I love what we can do with it, but sometimes it just takes a lot of the feel out of it to me. I came from a background in Memphis of people playing together all at once.
Yeah, man.
And I miss it. I really miss it.
Yeah, I was just coming up through the ranks, and Jimmy let me come out here on Saturdays. So I would do the Eddie Crooks. That's how I paid my way through Belmont, was doing gospel sessions on Saturday here. And but I'll never forget a young kid by the name of Paul Franklin came in, and he was just starting to do sessions. And one of his first sessions, he was sitting right over there. And he had a steel with him, and his dad had invented this thing called a pedal bro.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I listened to it, and if you ever heard one, it's real whiny. And so I looked in the cabinet, and there was a 77 DX in there, and I
There you go.
kind of moved it around until I found the sweet spot on it. And I'd never seen it before. So can you think of any other kind of projects that went on in here? Or?
You know, it was mostly custom stuff, and like I said, Eddie Crook was a huge client. We did tons of work. And I remember sometimes we don't tell anybody, but we didn't use new tape. And some of the spines on the tape boxes had been marked out so many times it's hard to find a place to write on them. And then there was one guy, the older man, I can't remember his name to save my life, and he would do these custom sessions, and he always booked 10 p.m. Even if you'd had nothing all day long, 10 p.m. I wasn't crazy about that.
Want to move on to Acorn?
Okay.
There's a brochure here that the Oaks made up, and then in 1984. Oh, wait a minute! Before we go there, Mark, you have a picture of Marty Stewart. I did Marty Stewart's first album for Ridge Runner Records here. I think you got a picture in one of the songs. I almost skipped over it.
And by the way, this is me when I had a lot more hair and a lot less weight.
He's working hard.
I was working hard.
He's
You
working
can see
too
my
hard.
hands are blurred there.
Yeah. Well, he was doing a mix.
I was doing a 3-hour mix.
He had 4 hands. I remember those days.
So do we have a song or?
What would you think if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friend. Yeah, I get high with a little help from my friend. Lord, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friend. What do I do when my love is away? Does it worry you to be alone? How do I feel by the end of the day? Are you sad because you're on your own? No, I get by with a little help from my friend. Yeah, I get high with a little help from my friend. Yeah, I'm gonna try with a little help from my friend. Do you need anybody? Well, I need somebody.
Yeah, Marty. Yeah.
Okay, so in a 19...
for the Beatles?
They passed on it. Now,
All the labels
did you
in the U.S. said, that, no, that won't work.
Did you record that? Or?
Yeah, I recorded
Yeah.
that. Yeah.